Good evening tonight. Good evening on Facebook. And good evening on TGM Television, our YouTube channel. It's great to see y'all. I'm Minister Marcus. And welcome to Maximize Your Life. All right. It's good to see all y'all great people tonight. I am going to do a quick Bible lesson tonight. I do not plan to be on long at all. But hopefully I something that you can kind of use that you can take away, So what I do is I highlight Bible scriptures, and I just give you a couple of points, things that you can take away that you can apply to your everyday life. You know what I'm saying? It's not meant to be all churchy. It's just meant to be very simple, very practical. All right. So tonight we going. Jesus is talking to some Pharisees, I believe, and so it's Mark chapter 4.
Yeah.
Beginning at verse number 30, all right, and it reads, "Then he said, to what shall we liken the kingdom of God, or with what comparison shall we compare it? Then he says, it is like a mustard seed, which when it is sown in the ground is smaller than all the seeds on earth." I want y'all to pay attention to that. Smaller than all the seeds on the earth. But when it is sown, it grows up and becomes greater than all the herbs, and shoots, grows out large branches, so that the birds of the air may nest under its shade. And so for a thought, you know what? I want you to think of this. I want you to think of small steps create big changes. Small steps create big changes. I want you to say that. Say small steps create big changes. I want y'all to consider this right now. Think of something in your life that you want to change, but that may be difficult right now. Think of something in your life that you want to change, but that may be difficult right now. And I want you to consider this. I want you to consider that anything in your life is changeable. Anything in your life can be changed. Anything in your life can be manipulated if you are willing to take the necessary steps.
Yeah.
Here's what I think. I think a lot of times, and most of the time what we do is we try to tackle things all at one time. When really, in reality, here's what I did. I decided I was going to quit smoking, right? And I'm being real transparent tonight. I decided I was going to quit smoking a few years ago. And so one of the things that I did, I tried to just quit cold turkey, right? And it worked for like a day. It worked for like a week, But, and what I was doing, I was trying to completely just tackle the entire thing.
Yeah.
But what I started doing, I started breaking away some of those small habits that were connected to the cigarettes, right? And so once I started breaking it off piece by piece, step by step, I started to realize that it was easier than what I had originally anticipated once I broke it down in simple steps. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of times that sometimes when we want things to change in our life, we are so gung-ho about changing. Like, I'm going to read an hour a day. When you ain't used to reading like that, you probably got to start a little bit smaller. Yeah. And so tonight, that's what we're going to talk about, that you can create a big change in your life by just doing some simple, small things. All right.
Yeah.
And so here's what Jesus does. He starts off, he's talking about the kingdom, right? And I'm going to go here, but we're going to apply it to our life. He's talking about the kingdom. And what he wants to do is he wants to tell his followers on how God is going to erect the kingdom in his day, because they anticipated that Jesus, who was the Messiah, was going to come as a king, right? They anticipated that he was going to come with a kingdom. He was going to have on his royal robe, right? He was going to have his boys with him. They was going to come. They was going to overthrow the Roman government. This is what they thought. But Jesus wanted them to understand that the kingdom not going to be set up like that. And so what he does is he gives them an illustration to let them know that the method by which his kingdom is going to be set up is going to be different than what they had in mind. And here's my first question to you all tonight. What do you do when what God wants to do in your life is different than what you had in your mind?
Yeah.
I want you to consider that. Consider how many things that you have in your mind that you want to go a certain way, right? The direction in your life that you want to go, the things that you want to do, and the things that you want to accomplish accomplish, imagine that maybe God wants something in your life to go a different way than what you had in mind. And I'm not saying that the things that you have in your mind are not good enough, but what I'm saying is what about when unexpected things happen in your life, right? And you're expecting things to go one way, but then things all of a sudden go a completely different way. And then sometimes we have sometimes we get the notion inside of us to get mad, to get annoyed, to get frustrated, to get agitated, to get upset. But how do you know that that is not God, right? Change is something. And most of the time, I like to say it like this, that sometimes God will wreck your plans when it goes against his purpose. God will wreck your plans when it goes against his purpose. And what I mean by that is that sometimes God would have you to be in to, well, I'm gonna say it like this, God would have you to impact somebody else's life, right? That you may never had anticipated that you were going to be impacted, and now you're mad, right? But not recognizing that the purpose has just changed. So what do you do when God's method is something different than what you had in mind? What do you do when God moves different than what you had in mind? I expected my life to be at this place, but now my life is in this place. I expected things to go this way, but now they're all of a sudden going this way. What do you do when what God does or allows to happen in your life is not exactly what you had in mind? I know for me, I didn't expect to be having the job that I have. I didn't expect to be working where I'm working at right now. But how many of you know that sometimes what you have in mind is not what God would have for you in your life right now? And so I think that we need to be more flexible, because sometimes you expecting God to give you one thing and then God give you something else, and then you got an attitude. Look, really the thing that God has given you, and I want us to understand this, because a lot of times we walk around in our lives frustrated because things don't go according to our plans, but not realizing that maybe God has a different purpose, right? And so what Jesus is doing, he wants them to understand, right, that the kingdom is going to be set up, but it's going to be set up a little different than the way that y'all had in mind. And here's another question for you guys tonight. I know we want things to happen really quickly, and this is what we talking about: small steps create big changes, right? But what would you do if what God says to you is, I'm going to give it to you, I'm going to bless you, right? But it's not going to happen tomorrow. It's not going to happen next week. It's not going to happen next month, but it's going to take you some time before you get to where it is that you want to go. And here's what I'm going to be transparent tonight. There were some things in my life, a big financial giant, right? A big financial giant. And I want y'all to get this, because sometimes he does not operate with the things that we have in mind. A big financial giant. I had no idea of how I was going to take this giant down. I said, God, I believe you and I trust you. So I need you to bless me with the money, right, to handle this right here. And I prayed and I prayed and I prayed and I prayed. And guess what? He never blessed me with it. He didn't bless me with it. Yeah, I thought I was going to say. And he gave me, no, he didn't. What he did, though, he told me this. He said, this can be beatable, but it's going to take you longer than me just dropping a big lump sum of money in your bank account. I want y'all to get that. What he did, he gave me the money, but he didn't give it all to me at one time. Come on. He had, look, I want y'all to get it. He gave me the money, but he didn't give it out to me at one time. He said, this is something that you are going to have to chop down little by little. I want you to get it. Little by little. And here's the thing tonight. The thing tonight is, will you forfeit the miracle because you don't want to walk according to the method that God has for you? If I would have said to God, I don't want to be paying on this. I don't want to be paying this thing down. I want it to be done with. But I don't think that we get a lot of times that a lot of times what God would have you to do is the method. And we don't want to take the steps necessary to get to where we need to go. And here's my question to us tonight. How many of us right now in our lives are at a place that we don't want to be in, not because we have to be in this place, but because we don't want to do what it takes to get to the next place? How many of us in our life are in a place right now in our lives, maybe financially, maybe in a relationship, because we don't want to take the necessary steps to get to the next place? And you know what? When God gave me the method, I was open, I was receptive to it. I said, all right, God, then I'll do it. I'll do it.
Yeah,
what
yeah.
I thought was going, and here's what, this is what I want us to get, because the miracle sometimes is in the method. I thought it was going to take me about 3 years to
Yeah.
pay it down. Are y'all listening to me tonight?
Mhm.
I thought it was going to take me about 3 years, but the more I start walking according to the method, what God did is he created opportunities,
Yeah.
come on, for me to
Yeah.
pay it down
Yeah.
quicker than what I thought. And so what I thought was going to take 3 years actually took about 7 or 8 months. Are y'all getting that tonight?
Yeah.
How many times do we forfeit the miracle because we don't want to work God's method? You had something else in mind, so you went with what you wanted to do. But when God, come on, and I want us to understand this, because a lot of times God will have you to win the battle, but he's not going to have you to win it. And I never understood this. God, why would you give the children of Israel land, but it's occupied by other people?
Right.
Why not just let them go in, destroy all their enemies, right? Take it out, boom, battle is over. And it's because sometimes God just wants you to submit to the plan.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen all at once. All right. And so what he does is he brings in the mustard seed. The mustard seed is the smallest and the least. But what I love about it is that God can still work through it. The mustard seed is the smallest and the least, but God can still work through it. The mustard seed is the smallest and the least, but God can still work through it. You know, one of the things I had to learn in my life, because, you know, like me, I don't know if anybody else is like me, but this is how I am. I love God. I worship God. Yes, I do. But there are times that I just do not get what God is doing in my life. I did not understand it, right? And so when I had the good times, it's easy.
Yes.
Right? To smile.
Yes.
To go to church, right? To play my bass, to do what I'm supposed to do. It's easy to do all this stuff when things go, but when things are going bad, or when things are not going according to plan, or when things are not just turning out the way I want them to turn out, I get annoyed, I get frustrated. Like, God, what are you doing? Right? Like, God, why do I have to go through this? Why do I have to deal with this? This is very uncomfortable. This is frustrating. This is annoying. This is a plague in my life. Like, you know, Paul, you know, I got a thorn in the flesh. Like, why I got to deal with this thorn in the flesh? I did not understand that God can work through the good in my life. Yes. Come on, as well as the bad in my life. God can work through the grand time. And this is what I love about God. And this is what I had to learn is that God is the same God when you up. When you got the money in the bank, he's the same God when you got the friends. He's the same God when you got the car that you want to be driving, where you doing, where you want to be at in life. But he is the exact same God when you ain't got the money in the bank.
That's it.
Look, he is the exact same God when you're not driving the car that you want to drive, when you're not living in the place that you want. And I had to learn that God works through the good as well as the bad. God works through the big as well as the small. God works through all situations in our lives. And here's what I love. I love that he uses the mustard seed, because the mustard seed is the least and the smallest. And I have to tell my young people all the time, you know, at TGM, I have to tell my young people, hey man, when I tell you that God is going to use you, that don't mean you got to go down the highway quoting scriptures. That don't mean you got to walk around toting your Bible every day, 24/7. But what that means is that God can use you no matter where you are.
That's right.
I want y'all to get this, that sometimes you may be used by God just by giving somebody a kind word. Just by smiling and giving somebody a hug. God can use the small, and I want us to get this. He uses the mustard seed to show us that just because things start off a certain way, that does not mean that they're going to end that way.
That's right.
Did y'all get that? That just because things start off one way, that don't mean that they're going to end. When I look at the story of Joseph in the Bible, Joseph starts off as his father's favorite, but immediately the story takes a dramatic turn and he ends up as a slave. And then my question is, God, how in the world can you take this story from here to the place? Come on, how in the world? You know what? Have you ever been there in life? I looked at my life at one point and I was like, God, how in the world are you going to take my life from where it is come on, to where, come on, I'm believing you for you tell us to have faith. But now I'm where I want to go and where I am is too drastically different. And I don't understand, God, like, wait a minute, this don't really make sense to me. Like, how in the world are you able? And this is what I love, because just because an area in your life is not where you want it to be, that does not mean that God is not at work in it. I love it. I love the fact that no matter where you end up in life, that God is able to work through it. God is able to work it. God is able to work through. And here's what I love. The parable is designed to teach us that God can work through small beginnings. I like that God can work through small beginnings. Wherever your life is right now, believe that God can work it. Don't let what it looks like right now kill your faith and what you believe in for God for it to become. All right, so let's move it. The mustard seed illustration teaches us that God accomplishes big things through the little things. I want you to consider this. How many things in your life, and this really kind of tripped me out once I started to think about it. How many things in your life, the smallest of things have the biggest impact? The smallest of things have the biggest impact. Let me start like this. Okay. All right. First, let's go to the car, right? You can take out a spark plug out of your car. What happened to the car? The car gonna probably shut off. You take the battery out, the car gonna probably. That's one little small thing. But here's what I want us to consider this. I want you to consider this, that the smallest of things. Let's go. Well, not. I don't know if everybody got kids or not, but let's go to relationships right quick. The smallest of things. Come on, say it's the little things. You know what? I since I've been doing counseling, some people crazy, But what I've discovered is people stay together after they cheat. But they break up because there's no communication. Did y'all get that? People stay together and they getting beat. But they break up. Why? Because he don't tell her he love her every day. Are y'all get what I'm saying? A lot of times people go to the furthest lengths for the smallest. Look, if you talk to most married women, they say it's not the big stuff that makes me mad. It's not the big stuff that we have. It's the small stuff. It's the little I love yous, right? That are able to get taking me out on a date. The simplest stuff. Sometimes with the kids, just one simple I love you can change the trajectory of a child's life. One hug can change the trajectory of a child's life. And here's the thing. The thing is that we overlook the small things. Because they're so small, we think they're insignificant. And I think that this is the gist of the text, the parable tonight, is that the small things sometimes are more important than the big things. I had to learn this. I got a lot of kids, but what I did learn is that kids appreciate the smallest thing that you overlook. I went and bought I bought my boys a boatload of Transformers one year. I'm talking about I spent about $200-300 on just Transformers. And you know what they remembered about this Christmas? They didn't remember the Transformers. They remember the times of me sitting in a room playing the game with them. I done spent $300 on Transformers, and the only thing you remember about this night is us sitting in the room, not even playing with the Transformers. Because it's the small thing. Come on, say it's the little things. It's the little things that matter the most. And here's the thing. The small things are the most important. With no seed, there can be no tree. With no seed, there can be no tree. With no seed, there can be no tree. Sometimes we get so preoccupied with the major things that we overlook the minor things. Look, I tell parents this all the time, that kids don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
That's right.
You can throw birthday parties all day, every day, but just sitting down asking, how are you feeling today? What's going on with you tonight? How are you feeling? How was your day today? I want you to consider that it's not the big things. This is what the Bible says, that the small foxes destroy the vine. And I want you to consider this. How many small things are you allowing in your relationship right now, in your life right now, in your productivity in your life right now? Well, how many small things are you allowing in your life? The small things are so undervalued that they often get overlooked and undone.
Come on now.
And I want us to consider this. That maybe, some people, they come to church and they say, man, Minister Marcus, I want to change my life. They come to me, they talk to me. I want to change some things in my life. I'm going to stop doing this. I'm going to stop doing that. I'm going to stop doing this. I said, I'm going to ask you one thing. You said, you're going to stop doing all that. I said, maybe you looking at the major things, but maybe God just wants you to get in touch with him. Are y'all getting? Maybe you looking at the big things, and I'm not knocking you from the big things, but here's what I'm saying is, you probably got to get back to the small things, the small 5-minute prayers in the morning. Good morning, God. Thank you for waking me up. Having a talk with God about the things that maybe God don't want the big flamboyant thing. Maybe he just wants the simple things. So many times we overlook all of the simple stuff for the big major flamboyant stuff, and we're not getting it. We're not understanding why things in our lives not coming together. Maybe you're looking for the grand gesture, and maybe God just wants you to do something simple like pray every day. Yeah. Maybe you're trying to quit doing all this extra, but God just wants you to get in touch with him. Without love, without time, without attention, without affection, relationships will die. And I want us to get that.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not the big things, it's the small things. It's the small things. And if you don't believe me, I want you to do this over time, gradually. Don't go too many months without getting your oil changed on your car.
Come on now.
Your engine gonna lock up and die.
Yeah.
And here's the thing with relationships. When you go too long, right, without communication.
Right.
That's something so simple. You can buy your wife, you can buy your husband, whatever he wants. But if you go too long without communication, if you go too long without love and affection,
yeah.
Come on, and I want us to get this in here with our relationship with God. How in the world do we consider ourselves to be Christians, but we go so many days without having a prayer life?
Oh, yeah.
So many days without even reading our Bible. 5 minutes, 7 minutes, 9 minutes.
Yeah.
It's the small things. Say it's the small things.
It's the small things.
It's the little things. You cannot neglect the little things. Tonight we talking about small steps create big changes, and we going here. I want us to understand we cannot neglect the little things. Let me, you know what? And here's the word for us tonight. Look, I'm doing pretty good tonight. I ain't got that much more left. You can become. What if I told you you can become a better parent by focusing on the small things? What if I told you you can become a better wife or a better husband by focusing on, the small? What if I told you you can be a better employee at work?
Come on,
by focusing on the small. Come on. What if I told you you could be a little bit more productive in your life just by focusing on the small things? Small things. What if I told you you could save your marriage? I have told so many people that say you can save your marriage if you just focus on doing the little things right.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times it's not the big things, it's the small things. It's the small things.
It's the small.
All right, here's my question on that. What little things have you left or are you leaving left undone that you consider small but are really holding you back? You consider it small. You know, our boss, we had a meeting today at my job, and one of the things they said we have to do is paperwork, right? I hate paperwork. And you have to be so detailed in your paperwork. And I do electronic. So you know how many small wires it is? And you want me to be detailed on all these little small wires. But here's the thing, what he said in the meeting. The thing that he said in the meeting was, and it really tripped me out. He said, you know what? All this work that y'all do, but y'all don't leave no paper trail, and y'all about to get fired. Why? Because you ain't got no paper trail. I'm like, wait a minute, boss. Is it really just so I could not do nothing that made, you can't do that. But I want us to understand the point. The point is that something so simple means so much just for them to have a record.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times what we get so hung up on the major things is that really the requirement is just for something so simple. What small thing? And look, the promotion don't go to the people that do all the best work. The promotion don't go to the people. The promotion goes to the people that know how to do what? Paperwork.
Yeah.
The promotion goes to the people that know how to sit down. Come on. And I want us to get this because most of the time we overlook the smallest details, and it's the smallest details that's holding us back. All right. So God makes big changes in small steps. And I like he used the mustard seed, and he says the mustard seed starts off the least, but it grows to be the biggest.
Yeah.
It starts off the smallest, but it grows to be the biggest. It starts to be the weakest, but it grows to be the big. All right. And so this is, I'm trying to cut some corners because I don't want to go too long. Look, here's what I like about that. There is time between when it is sown, and there is time between when it was grown. There's time between being sown, and there's time between it being grown. What is the difference between being sown and being grown? And we talked about it last week, how sometimes, well, not sometimes, if we are the seed, right, we have to be planted. That sometimes God puts us in situations, right, that force us to grow.
Right.
And a lot of times when we think that God is trying to destroy us, really, it be God trying to develop us. When we think that we're in frustrating circumstances, it really just be God trying to push us out of our comfort zone so that we move to the next level of faith. Right.
Come on
All right.
now.
And so when I say that, there's a different, there's a time period between sown and being grown that is called the process of growth.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
process of growth. And many times we want to skip steps.
Yes.
We want to go from level
Come on now.
from level B all the way to level X, Y, and Z. But you can't get to X, Y, and Z without first going through A, B, and C.
Come on.
There is a process of growth. There is a process of growth, and sometimes we want to overlook it. But my word for us tonight is that God cannot get you all the way to Z unless you go through the step of A, B, and C. Prayer and practice the little things is how God transforms our situations.
Yeah.
So it's basically saying like this. So you mean to tell me, God, if you want me to get to my next level, the only thing I got to do is focus on the small things on my present level?
Yeah.
It's called the process of growth. You cannot expect prize results, right, while you're in the process. And I love it in the text because it says when it's sown and when it is grown. When it is sown and it grows to be big. So it goes from being little,
Yeah.
right, to go to being. Are y'all getting it tonight?
Come on now.
It goes from being small to being big throughout there is a time period between when it is sown and when it is grown. The complete significance is seen when it is grown, not when it is sown. There is a process of growth. Say process of growth.
Process of growth.
All right, and I'm going to conclude with this. I want you to think of every period in your life as a journey. Every point and place in your life as a journey. And each phase of life is intended to be a place of growth and development. I want us to consider that. Stop looking at the things that are going wrong in your life as things that are going wrong and think of it as a phase of my life for growth and development.
All right.
Think of it as a phase of my life for growth and development. And here's what I have to say to myself. I am here to grow. Say that. I'm here to grow.
I'm here to grow.
It's frustrating in my life right now, but I'm here to grow. I'm broke sometimes, but I'm here to grow. It's frustrating, it's annoying, but I'm here to grow. Say, I'm here to grow.
I'm here to grow.
God did not put you there to destroy you, but he put you there to develop you. And this is what, for me, I want us to get this, that we cannot walk around mad and frustrated at where we are in life. And we can look at the situation as a period or a point or place for us to grow and develop. Instead of us being frustrated, you'll start to pick out the small little things that you can say, maybe I could have done that different. Maybe I need to change the way I see that. Maybe I need to change that way I understand or perceive that. And so maybe when you see things that way, then you'll be able to make those little small little adjustments to get to the place that it is that you want to get. Come on, let's give God a hand tonight. All right, at 27 minutes.
All right.
That wasn't real deep. That wasn't real heavy. That wasn't real nothing. But I thank you guys for tuning in tonight. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for tuning in. Go to our website. Visit our website. I posted up some of the new stuff that we did from St. Patrick's Day. Please go www.thegodmovement.com. All right. So I will be back next week at 8:30. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank y'all for tuning in. Thank y'all for tuning in. Thank y'all for tuning in. Thank you, my Bible Study crew tonight. All right, we'll see y'all next week. I am logging off. Thank you. Goodbye. 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 Goodbye.
On YouTube, right?
Yeah, it's TGM Television on YouTube. That was a very simple
something right there.
lesson tonight. Yeah, no, I didn't plug it in. I just let it charge.